This is Corey Thompson with Roughneck Real Estate. I'm sitting here with Emma Coffman with Performance Beef. Guys, I hope you enjoy what's next. If you're working hard, you're going to love this conversation from two rural Texans about the cattle industry, the beef industry, the farm industry, everything hardworking. And guys, we hope you enjoy it. Go to roughneckrealestate.com. If you've got any real estate questions, drop your email in there, and we look forward to getting to know you. So we got Emma Coffman from By Temple, Almost Grove, for those of y'all familiar with the Bell County, between county lines. So what county, that's east? Where's Grove?
It's towards Gatesville, so it's still technically Bell County, and it's like, yeah, it's right past you, the concrete bridge on Belton Lake. Much
better than whatever county Gatesville's in.
Yeah, I don't know. I like Gatesville. We used to do a lot of rodeo stuff over there and get into some trouble. So
I used to make fun of Gatesville a lot.
It's easy to do.
Well, no,
because of the prison.
No, it didn't have nothing to do with the prison. Girl that worked from us was from Gatesville, and I was just like, man, that's just a weird place to be from, you know? And there's an apartment complex that we want to buy up on the hill, and that's really what I know about it because I go through there all the time and I'd see it. And that's everything I knew about Gatesville. So whenever she said she was from Gatesville, I was like, ooh. And she's like, what? And I'm like, that's just weird. I can't.
The layout's kind of strange on the place, but it's growing. It's growing a lot. But then again, that whole anything around Austin, so Temple itself has changed drastically since I was a kid. I drove through there a couple months ago, and I'm like, the road that was there is no longer there. So everybody that wants to have the small town type of environment, but be still within a decent driving. And then, of course, Scott and White is one of the major hospitals in Baylor, Waco. So it's just Temple.
I-35.
I-35, which feels like they're never going to end construction.
I-14 corridor. Only I think exists in Temple.
Yeah,
I think it's Temple to Nolanville.
Nolanville, talk about a different place right there. No, I like Nolanville. You just drive straight through it, though.
So Braxton, kid you just met, he bought a house in Nolanville. He's from Belton.
Okay, yeah.
So he
so he probably went to Belton High then.
He homeschooled and then went to Belton High.
That makes sense.
How old are you?
I'm 25.
So he's 19. So not significantly younger, but significantly younger.
That's funny. I did the opposite. I was public school, and then I went, second half of my sophomore year, I went to online public school.
Really? Why?
The public education system is not exactly I mean, it's great for socialization, but in terms from an education and quality education, it really depends on where you go. And I did so many stock shows. I was in 4-H for 10 years. I was traveling too much, and they basically weren't willing to help me catch up on schooling or prepare myself for school. So went to an online public education system, and it was the best decision I made.
So you missed so much school. What did you show in?
I did like sheep, goats. I even tried my hand at a hair calf one year.
And tell the people what a hair calf is.
Okay, so you got hair, which is like your continentals and British breeds, like Angus, Hereford, things like that. Then you have your slick cattle, so like your Boss Indicus influenced cattle.
All right. So I'm not a veteran of the show circuit. Plus I'm 38, so you're 25. So even when I was messing around at the show barn with no experience, I showed a pig once, and I was like, got that credit? I'm out.
Check that box.
Yeah, like it was like you had to. I think you had to. You had to be involved in showing in some way. There's no way I would have went into that unless somebody made me.
For what? Like school?
For school.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
So in Groesbeck, I want to say you had to. I wanted to say you had to join the FHA, and you had to go to be an ag class. You had to have ag for so many semesters.
Yeah.
And you had to show an animal. So
I wish they would do that everywhere, because that's the one thing is just accurate education of agricultural products,
Yes.
and it's just not there anymore. That's where a lot of them is communication.
Well, and having they had people that would help you, like different businesses that would help you get your pig or get your chicken or get
They
whatever.
sponsor it, yeah.
And then you would, if you didn't have a place at home, they had a place for you. I mean, it was kind of hand fed, and I mean, you could do a rabbit. You know,
Yeah.
I just chose pig because they said most of the time it didn't make sell, and most of the time you'd have to butcher it, and the only thing I could afford on the list that I would eat was a pig. So we got the pig, fed the pig, showed the pig, placed 10th or whatever, butchered the pig, ate the pig.
There you go.
Whole
Farm to
circle
finish.
line. Yeah, farm to finish. So it was. I mean, it worked out well, I think, for me overall. But you were talking about hair cattle. When I heard hair cattle, I was thinking like Fort Worth style stock show where they got long hair,
blowers, and they breed specifically for, and they dye the hair to make it black. It's a lot.
And like the people with money would put their Angus in a freezer.
Yeah, it's a cool room, and so it maintains pretty much winter type of temperatures, so that way they can go in and
The hair grows.
Yeah, exactly. It stimulates. So that's a Highlander.
Yeah, so that's
so put Fort Worth.
Yeah, Fort Worth.
Fort Worth cattle show.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you,
Whatever, go to
put
images.
cattle stock show.
Yeah.
Maybe stock show would be better.
It would
there
be
you go.
livestock show.
So go to images.
And you go to images, and whenever you see the cattle, they're going to have long hair.
There you go. That Hereford, that very first one.
It's got long hair.
Yep.
You see how its hair's long. Now, the crazy part about that is, so there's what is that?
That
12-year-old?
Yeah.
Maybe?
That was the kid that won it this past year, I think.
Oh, wow. But you could hide a lot of imperfections
You can.
in that long hair. You just got to have a good barber, you know?
The fitter, yeah. And those guys there's guys that do that for a living. That's all they do is clip cattle. They'll go around and help you figure out how to feed it. All sorts of things.
It's a whole hustle.
It is.
Didn't they limit the amount of money that a kid could get from the Houston
Yes.
rodeo?
Now, yeah, Houston has a minimum guarantee and then a cap. So, like if you're a 5th or 6th place lamb, you're guaranteed like $4,500 or something like that, and you're capped out at 7. And that's not accurate numbers. I'm just going off of memory here, but anything over that, they put into the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo scholarship program.
Yes.
So that's how they maintain a lot of those scholarships funding.
Google the Houston Livestock Show or Houston Grand Champion steer. That'll bring it up.
Yeah.
Sell them out. Now this is a crazy thing. I don't think you're from. I guess you go to Temple Public School.
I actually went to Belton.
So you went to Belton.
Yeah, we drove 30,
Amazing.
35 minutes to go to Belton School District just because it was better quality education at the time.
Go to all. And see what amount it sold for. It'll have a news article right there. Brings
There you go.
1 million. There it is.
And
That's
is
$1 million.
Yep.
That's $1 million for one calf.
Yep.
And so the kid used to walk with all of that money.
It has been that way in a long time.
But then they had it was that way whenever I was in school. I know because it was a really big deal. But what ends up happening is, man, there's like a whole underground. I mean, it's wild. Like they got genetics. They got these peddlers, these hustlers, these. Yeah, and now you got the internet, so at least you can tell the reals from the fakes. Because back in the day, it was just like word of mouth. So you're just
reputation.
Like, oh, I'm going to buy this genetic. You don't have any way to know. You know what I mean? They just got a picture. They're like, yeah, his dad won, and
this is Man Amongst Boys. Here you go. Or this is my favorite. In the stock show world, they're really funny. They've got a sense of humor, especially the pigs. Have you ever looked at the registered sires? They are. I think one of them was named was Safe Word. And then the son of his was Blueberry Pancakes, and that was the breeder's name. Like that was their personal safe word between the couple.
It's
Trump Train was a steer or a bull that came along.
That was just like throwing off all the Grand Champion steers.
Well, I mean, like you name them, right? You have to have some sort of idea. Like Sarah Brister, she does club lambs, and hers was Whatabuck instead of Whataburger. It was Whatabuck.
That's
it's just
funny.
reference names, but and you can tell, especially if you've been in even the horse industry, if you've been in it long enough, and it's amazing. These people can sit there and like, that mare was out of a Woody B Tough, or that one is a WR mare, and like that has to be her half brother or something, and it's amazing just from confirmation wise.
Well, and that's what. So back in the day, you like whenever it became, you knew what time you had to buy your calf. You know what I mean? You had to, and so it become calf buying season. You had all these like hustlers out there, peddling show calves. And I don't know. I mean, don't really know the difference between if I went and got one out of the pasture and just fed him and combed him every day, versus the one with the right genetics. To be a show calf. And really, the judge, I guess, is the ultimate decider. And how would he know the history back then? It's like you're not going to be able to Google this. You're not going to be able to go to the internet and figure this out. Like, so anyways, there's not corruption. I wouldn't say it's 100% corrupt system, but I mean, it was very competitive to win. And a lot of people making a lot of money, and there's a child attached to every animal, and it's supposed to be for the good of the child. And really, it's a bunch of uber competitive, wealthy parents getting their kids $25,000 calves at the beginning, and keeping them fed and combed for these kids, and then teaching the kids how to show them and hoping they make $500,000. That was back when I was in school. Now they're $1 million, but they don't get to walk but a set amount of money. And the rest goes to the scholarship fund. So
it's a good program, especially it teaches your kids responsibility, sportsmanship. It teaches them a lot, but all good things in moderation, right? I mean, and that's with every hobby or every activity you can do. You gotta. I wouldn't
say anything negative about it. I was saying just the Houston show.
I agree.
The smaller counties, like our grand champion steer last year brought $15,000. Ask me how I know.
Did you buy it?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
But I wanted to. And it's a tax write-off. So what happens is, like, we go out to a buyer's dinner, or you go bid. Local businesses come in, support the animals, support the kids. Great program. Kids get all that money. They can either reinvest it into their next animal, or if they're a senior, they can use it to go to college. You went to A&M. Your show animal, did it make sale?
It did, several times.
What'd you walk with senior year?
A senior year, it would have been a fine wool, and he brought me, I think, about 4,500 something.
And what'd you use that money for? Did y'all have project graduation as well?
Yeah, so I put it all. I was lucky enough that got quite a few scholarships, and so mainly that money went towards books and making sure that I could afford places to live, that I didn't have to bolt my door and with 5 different kinds of bolts or something like that.
Where did you live in College Station?
I lived my dorm room. So my mama made me live on campus at first because I needed the college experience. So I lived at White Creek, which is a nicer dorms with a little kitchen and stuff. I like to cook. And so then lived in this off of Luther, really sketchy, but used to be called the District.
Oh, I know about Luther.
The District on Luther. Yeah, I had a guy pull a gun on me. I had somebody try to break into my house. So
it's a small pocket.
Yeah,
it gets smaller every year. Luther loses a little bit of its. Yeah, we used to. Friend of mine's girlfriend got purse snatched.
Yeah.
At Sterling, which is now the Gateway.
Yep.
Right there at Holloman, and anyways.
University.
And he ran him down. Got the purse back, and it was a kid. He was. I mean, we were kids, but he was a teenager, and I made fun of him. I was like, "You didn't beat his ass?" He's like, "No," and I'm like,
"No,
why not?" And he's like, "He was a child." I was like, "Sound like a child that needed a butt whooping." Like,
well, exactly. We could use a lesson, but yeah, that's why I carried. So A&M's a concealed carry campus, and I'm on the ag side, so all of my professors carried. We talked about different kind of holsters, and I mean. Very different than the main campus, west side. So anything west of the train tracks, we were pretty small. This was basically a university within a university system. So I've always felt safe there. But even when off campus over in Texas, you know that your vehicle is an extension of your home. So I did not have to be 21 to carry a firearm in my truck. And so obviously that's last resort. But
right now there's a few different ways to meet the maker in my truck. Mm-hmm. There, I had a guy flash a gun at me the other day.
Yeah.
And it was kind of weird because I take pictures of real estate, so I had my window down. I was in Wichita Falls, so you probably buzz through there every once in a while.
Yeah.
So I had my window down, and I'm taking a picture, and it didn't have a electric meter in, so I assumed nobody was living there. Bad assumption on my part. So I'm on the road, and this guy whips the door open, and I got my camera out. And, of course, I was going to take it. It was like a multi-unit apartment. So, anyways, I'm taking pictures of over here and over here, and he sees me. And, of course, he thinks I'm taking a picture of him. And
Better be careful. I think you're a new IRS agent.
Or whoever. But he was, I mean, he was definitely methed up a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
And
you have that.
he pulled his sweatshirt up to let me know that he had a gun and put his hand on his gun. And I was like, dang. And I was driving by because I was stuck in traffic. Anyways, I was going to a 4-way stop. So it wasn't like I could just speed off or anything. I was just kind of stuck. So I'm like, do you think I'm going to quit looking at you now that you've showed me a gun?
My eyes are on you.
Yeah, like, you know what I mean? Like, if your goal was to get me to stop looking at you, you think showing me your gun was the way? Because now all I do is I have my hand on my gun, but I shoot my gun regularly. You got to hit me through a vehicle. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Good luck.
You're out in the middle of a yard. Like, this is just, it was weird. But anyways, College Station, you had a good time.
Good place.
What's your degree in?
Animal science.
Oh, man. Is that a throwaway degree? Is that like, do you start off over here and then go animal science? Or do you people just go into A&M and is like, hey, I want to be an animal science major?
I did, but I was heavily involved with the whole ag side of things through 4-H and growing up. And then 4-H in Texas through the AgriLife program has a fantastic program called Livestock Ambassadors.
Okay.
And it's a pretty strenuous process. So you have to apply and you have to do a bunch of essays and questionnaires. If you get selected, you either go to Tech or to A&M. A&M was an hour and a half away from me. So
why only those two though?
Those are the two major animal science based universities in Texas.
So my friend Shane that I wanted to be here, but he won't come. He doesn't social media. Shane, when you watch this, you could have made this an intelligent conversation. Anyways, he's a Superior cattle rep. Him and his dad are both Superior cattle reps.
Yeah.
He has an animal science degree. It took him 9 years to get it.
Through where?
A&M.
Oh, honey. Did genetics kick your butt? Because it almost kicked mine.
No, it was not the school. It was not the class. I think it was the weed and the alcohol.
Oh, yeah, that plays a part of that.
So now that we've told everybody your business, Shane, you should have just came here so you could defend yourself. But either way,
Sucks to suck.
It does suck to suck. He when he always seems so mad at that degree because
really?
but he was paying out of state tuition at the point. I mean, he's got like 900 hours.
Yeah.
Or whatever it is. He was paying out of I'm like, what? He's like, I had to get. So that's why I asked that question. I was like, he seems so disappointed in his animal science degree.
I beg to differ. So again, through that Livestock Ambassador program, it teaches kids and or young adults through the high school age.
Yep.
They go to either of those colleges and they do within a week. They do a crash course, a gist of every major class within the animal science degree. Then at the end, you have to take an exam and you have to make like an 80-85% or else you get kicked out of the program. Then if you get accepted and pass the exam, then they go around and do agriculture advocacy at all sorts of different locations. But so I went to A&M and I'm like, I am hooked, especially reproductives. I was hook, line, and sinker. So I went there. The only thing I have to stone to throw is the kind of bullcrap courses, so like the math and the history and things like that I'm like, really? We just did 12 years of this crap. I don't really need to
I don't like those either.
Relearn Texas history to be nutrition. But my professors treated me like family. I only had problems with main campus professors, so they were more on the left side of things. All of mine, in fact, one of my professors, his name is Tyrone Wickersham. He's a nutrition professor over there. He got me through my junior year of college when my folks decided to split up, and I was going through a lot of other things.
Yep.
He's the one that really got me through that. And to this day, my professors are the ones that helped me get a job out of college. And because I was supposed to go work in Australia. So when COVID hit, all the visas got declined.
When did you graduate?
December of 20.
Okay, awesome. So I forget how old we are. Keep going.
No, you're fine.
My friend that took 9 years to graduate graduated in 09.
Mm-hmm.
And so, anyways, we were there. I lived there the whole time with him. I was like,
it's a fun place.
Yeah. I mean, I was there because all my business partners, everybody went down there. So it just kind of ended up down there. I worked in the oil field, and partied.
Made sense. Yeah.
Northgate. Yeah, just Harry's. I went to Northgate.
Harry's, yeah. The Tap. Did you hang out at the Tap?
I hung out at the Tap on piano night.
Piano night, karaoke night was pretty fun too. I didn't participate, but observation was pretty.
So
comical.
Tuesday nights were Piano Man.
I thought that was Wednesday.
Was it Wednesday?
Wednesday piano night. Yeah, Monday is karaoke night.
I bet you it's the same Piano Man. Came from Austin.
It is.
He's like,
last time I was there, he was there.
Yeah,
he's a cool. He plays some bangers too. Like it's fun.
I could roll back on my Facebook right now, and like, the things. But it don't matter. Pickle shots were invented at the Tap. I'm fairly certain they were invented at the Tap.
I'm not that old.
They weren't there anywhere, and then they were at the Tap, and then they were everywhere. And I was
Tipsy Turtle is the best pickle shot place, in my opinion.
I think Braxton's cousin owns the Tipsy
Really?
Yeah.
Well, see, when I moved to Lubbock, there's a place called the Blue Light owned by.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. So.
Oh my gosh, Lubbock. It's such a bad place.
I actually like it. But then you got to think, I cover 3 states, so I get to leave. I think if I had to go to a day job or something, was stuck in Lubbock every day, I think I might get old. But the people out there is what really has made it worth living.
Some people. But the
people I met. I've been lucky.
There's great people everywhere you go.
There are.
Just keep going. I'm not. I'll tell you my Lubbock stories later.
Okay, but no, the Blue Light. They've got this burn vodka. You ever heard of that one?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so it's habanero vodka, and they make burn pickle shots. And you talk about this, Mr. Six. If you're listening to this, I want a bottle of that vodka for sponsoring you. But it's really good vodka. And then they mix it with these different shots, and it just has that heat. It's not spicy where you know your mouth's on fire. It's just the heat, and
it's making me throw up a little bit in my mouth. not because of any of the flavoring. It's just I quit drinking. Not because I'm not an alcoholic. I can go get hammered right now. Mm-hmm. I just can't deal with the hangovers.
Yeah,
I just can't. I can't. I'm 38. It's over for me.
See, in this industry, in the livestock side, it's fueled by alcoholics, to be honest with you, and so we drink all the time, but I don't like to get drunk, and they make fun of me, but so my trick at these conventions, and I'm selling myself out right now, but I'll do my to-go drink is whiskey Sprite, but I'll switch to whiskey Coke because...
What whiskey though?
Usually like it's either TX or just regular Crown, Apple Crown actually with Sprite.
Crown's always a go-to.
Always. But what I'll do is at these conventions, all these guys are just getting hammered. Well, being a female in it, I kind of have to be careful how I present myself anyways. But what I'll do is I'll go get us a round of whiskey, Cokes, or whatever. They all have whiskey in theirs and I don't. So I'm going all the way till 3, 4 a.m. hanging with them. And they're like, all right, yeah, you can hang
drink.
Yes, sure. But meanwhile, because they open up. And these guys start talking about who they know, and this person did this, and this person bought this animal from this guy who screwed him over on this deal. So you learn so much more. Now you got all the tea. I'm showing up at 5 a.m., 6 a.m. the next morning, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, with all these other older guys. Now, I will say, some of those cattlemen...
They don't care.
Oh my gosh, there was an 85-year-old on the tables of dueling piano bar at NCBA last year with two 20-something-year-olds on either side. Hammers all get out. Very next morning, 6:30 a.m., he was sitting right there sipping his coffee like nothing happened.
I mean, it really is amazing. It's reps, though. It's like anything else in life. It's reps. Like, it's just like I've done
Calloused
this.
livers.
Yeah, it's like I've done this 1,000 times. 1,001
right.
ain't gonna hurt. So yeah, no, it's true.
It is.
So you graduated A&M, come out of college, got this job, supposed to go to Australia, got shut down.
Yeah.
Now you're working this job. You sell equipment. Now, all right, so how me and Emma met is Spoonie. We chop it up on the podcast a little bit differently, different generations podcast. We have different conversations, and Spoonie's going into the Santa Gaputus cows. What's a
Santa Gatrudis.
Yeah, and he said it was a GMO, and the internet strongly disagreed with him. And that was it. That's what happened. Now, Spoonie could not really articulate, and he's got the most eloquent vocabulary of anybody we know, but he couldn't articulate a response. But typically when the internet gets on you, it's like 50-50. There's like 4 people that kind of agreed with Spoon, and the rest of y'all just let him have it.
It was pretty comical.
It was rough. And so anyways, this is all happening on my TikTok, and people are like mad at me, and I'm like, well, heck, I didn't do it. I didn't say it. I don't know anything about the Santa Gaputus
Guilty
cow.
by association.
Yeah, like,
we got to get you to say the right word.
I say that on purpose so they can jump on me. Y'all can be mad at me. But the funny part about that is my family, they own, I mean, I joke around, but it's a 5,500 acre ranch here, a couple thousand acre ranch there. It's 10 square miles.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We got 10 square miles out there of family land, run stockers. They all sell, they're all superior cattle reps. You know, I grew up in and around the cattle industry. I took little to no interest in it. I hauled hay. I hauled square bells. I've run a tractor every weekend with my son. It's got a buddy seat. I'm shredding goat weeds. I'm shooting hogs. But, you know, I'm not going to pretend to be an expert in anything because I'm not. But I saw your stuff and I was like, well, she's out here selling something that Shane has always said is really hard. It's like such an uphill battle in the cattle industry to get technology in.
Yes.
And I didn't understand it. Even like when you start speaking that completely different language where you're talking about, you know, 3.5 weights and all that kind of stuff. I understand what you're saying, but I know the general public's got to be like, what's going on? Anyways, I thought about it from a stalker, like a guy running a stalker operation. And I was like, man, that could make a stalker operation like so much better. So much better. But it only, right now, y'all only have it for the feed yard.
I've got stalkers, backgrounders, feedlots. I even have some cow-calf guys that use it because right now we're going through a major drought.
And they're feeding a bunch.
Yep, and that's what it tracks. So there's actual load cells you can get on your trip hopper, so that cake box, and it'll Bluetooth connect to your phone or a tablet, or iPad, and you can track things that you hand feed too. So it doesn't...
But you're mainly feeding in a trough. So you wouldn't, I mean, I guess you could track how many cubes are dropping on the ground, but you wouldn't have any way to know. I guess they all get 8, but like, how does it factor in? There's so many variables. Now I'm overly analytic when it comes to weird stuff like that. I'm thinking about like, well, you know, you wouldn't know how much this calf ate versus this calf versus this calf versus this calf.
You're never going to know that. You can put bunk reading scores. So what the system does is it takes that bunk score. So if there's 100, 200 pounds left in the bunk, then it'll calculate that in the analytics. Same thing if it's clean and you bump up feed. But tracking per head it does it from an average standpoint, analytics, to know that cow number 3005 ate 3/4 of a pound and then she got distracted and then went off to go find her calf, and then the more dominant big mama came in and ate 10 pounds of feed. There's no way to do that because
I got you.
Animals are all social hierarchy. which is why we make cuts and we rotate cattle out of pens and bump them up on feed, etc. So,
Well, but to me, the technology is so much better than not knowing it all.
Oh, for
you know what
sure.
I mean? Like so the way, and I don't even want to throw. I'm almost sad I mentioned Superior on here because now they're gonna be like, these goddamn people. Anyways, so with Superior, they sell video. So that you got to go video the cattle, right? So they're out there. You want like pristine, picturesque background,
right?
Video the cattle, and they're sold on an auction based on video and a guesstimate of weight. You know this, right?
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, that's just the way it's done. Like it's complete guesswork. Like, oh yeah, we're selling
a lot of online sales.
Yeah, we're selling 5.5, and then you get them on the truck, and they either weigh too much or don't weigh enough. You know what I mean? So it's like they're averaging over the top. So you're sitting there as you're sorting them onto the truck, and you're like, oh, that one's light, get it out of here. Oh, that one's heavy, get it out of here. You know what I mean? But when I saw your technology, I was like, man, they would know better going in. You know what I mean? Like you could sort them ahead of time and know. You know what I mean? Like you would have so much more power and knowledge about it if you were tracking it on. In lots, like what y'all do. Like, you have this group that's gaining really well.
Well, they say the most expensive sentence in agriculture is we've always done it this way.
It is true.
And it's, and I get it, that old steno or that notepad that sits on the dash. I get it, been there, done that. But you lose so much accuracy of how much you're spending, not only in feed, but we've got an animal health side. So medicines, respiratory response, I can look from a financial standpoint, look at 2 different loads of cattle. I bought 1 load from you and 1 load from Bob Joe and say, well, Bob Joe's consistently over the past 4 loads have a 25% higher medical input cost. So if I have the option, and they're both similar made cattle, they both gain roughly the same, I'm losing or not making as much money on that Bob Joe guy versus yours. So from a cattleman standpoint, I might start buying more cattle from you because they're more feed efficient and they are not being as much medical input costs. But, you think that you're writing all this down, but especially when you have hired hands.
Oh, it's very,
Yeah. As feed truck drivers even itself, I mean, if you got a guy that can hit right on the mark of that feed call every single time, you just found Jesus. Because it's impossible to hit right to the pound every single day, twice a day, 3 times a day, not only from your feed ingredients or commodities.
Oh yeah, just eyeballing it.
Yeah.
But with a scale on your hopper.
Yeah. So you just hit a big green button that says confirm, and and now records that, and then it splits that cost between the cattle that's in that pen
or pasture.
Yep. So you can put pasture lots, grazing wise. People will put added cost of hay bales or mineral.
I mean, I could see how it's hard to train an 85-year-old on that. Yeah. But my friend Shane that needs this, what's the cost?
So if you do a month-to-month subscription, it's $195.
Okay, hold on. That's $195 a month. But what about the load cell and everything that goes on the hopper? All sold separately?
Well, you don't have to. So that's the cool thing about us is we don't force you to buy a specific brand. If you already have the load cells, what we just do is get you to take a picture of the load cells cables themselves, and then we just order a base
for the Bluetooth.
For the load cell cable to connect it to, so the base of the scale head. So it basically like you're taking a USB-C trying to fit into a USB. So we order that, and then every once in a while we might have a conversion kit, so just a cord that's like an adapter.
Yep.
Does not cost very much at all. Usually all of them are less than $200, like $150 or something like that, one-time cost. But that month-to-month allows seasonal feeders, so people that maybe not feed during the summertime, it allows them to pause their account. And then if you have cattle all year round, I just say do the yearly subscription. That's $175 a month.
Yeah, but I mean, look, you don't have to sell me.
No,
I'm the easiest sell you ever got because I like analytics technology.
Yes.
I'm in real estate. we underwrite deals. We're looking at the numbers. We're paying attention to all that. I also know the stress that everybody goes through from a bookkeeping point of view, just on figuring out, you know, I mean, you just look up and you're like, oh, you know, we've got how much feed have we fed these cattle?
Right.
Just from a cost perspective, like what are we spending on feed? Like, I mean, it's such, I don't know. To me, it's like if you can get all of this systemized and onto a spreadsheet,
One place, yep.
and on the data that you can use to then back it up. And what you're talking about right there, Joe Bob's cattle and my cattle, it's the reason why a lot of people don't buy sale barn cattle. You know what I mean? Somebody will put together a load that they got from the sale barn. They'll go to, you know, buyers and put together 2 or 3 from this sale barn, 2 or 3 from that sale barn. They'll put them together as a load, and they're like, oh, they came from the sale barn. They haven't been worked. They're like, we have no idea if they've been vaccinated. We have no idea. You know, they're just mixed together like we don't want them, versus a load that's coming from somebody like our family that's already weaned them, worked them. They have their shots. They have all that. You have it all in one place.
Yep.
Where it's like, look at this data. Like, I can present this to you.
Yes.
And I mean, it's an amazing piece of software, I would think,
it's
for
a tool.
somebody. Yeah.
And your return on investment for that program, I mean, within a month, most people are like, all right, I see it now. And because you think, especially right now with commodity pricing, we were talking about a little about it earlier, was that if you're missing 10, 15, 20, and that's low side, I'm just saying trip hopper type of these big, you know, 15, 2,500 head, which is still small compared to the average. Like Lubbock feeder is just 12 minutes from my door, and they're a 56,000 head operation. So we focus on the smaller guys. But, you know, you're missing several hundred pounds a day of wet distillers or something that has a lot of shrinkage to it, or right now you can't even get cotton burrs because
the drought.
Well, the drought, and then a lot of the seeds and never germinated. So right now, West Texas is mainly dirt. There's very few places that could afford to water their property, much less play the Russian roulette game of fertilizer on top of all that.
Well, nobody. I mean, like, fertilizer's like a luxury now.
It's
I mean,
insane.
it's like in the cattle operation, like nobody's fertilizing. I mean, a drought probably helped that. You know what I mean? Because they wouldn't have been fertilizing anyways because of heavy rain. But
a lot of crop insurance right now going on.
Oh yeah, but you know, I mean, again, this is a different language to me. You know what I mean? It's a different language to a lot of people. But from a cost point of view, or having the data. Like, I think that the younger generation, I mean, that little getting roasted by Spoonie's Santa Gaputis cattle brought more ranchers onto my page. So I'm just watching ranching content all day. And
it's interesting.
I'm seeing y'all argue it out. You know what I mean?
Well, and everybody's right? I mean, everybody does it the best way. Everybody, you know, so what's really cool is follow Performance Beef on Snapchat. It's Larry Performance Beef. Every Friday, a different customer across the country or world takes over the Snapchat, and they show their operation. What do they do? What kind of cattle they have?
And that's who you work for? Mm-hmm. Performance Beef?
It's Performance Livestock Analytics.
Okay.
The program itself is called Performance Beef, and then the cow-calf version we're working on right now, being launched next year, is Performance Ranch. And so talking about getting your cattle from people not knowing what vaccinations they've been getting, you can now, the idea is to not only from a cow-calf standpoint get all of your data on being able to breed for the most productive and efficient calf crop, but now as a feedlot or order buyer, I now can get all the genetic and medical and management information.
And that's pretty big. That's big.
Well, think about it. I mean, I've got Joe Schmo, whatever, and I have no data on his cattle. They look okay, but then I've got your cattle. They still look okay, but I have all this of when they were vaccinated, what they were vaccinated with.
Yeah, there's going to be a premium paid for that.
I mean, the idea is for the cow-calf guy to get paid for what he's putting into the cattle. That's the idea. But I'm from a feedlot standpoint, I'm going to buy probably your cattle because they've been vaccinated, and I don't have to waste money on drugs anymore.
That's right. And how long do you think it is before the technology goes to like a chip, like a lost animal chip in every cow? So you can
government required EID tracking or
no government. We'll keep the government out of it.
Well, that's the idea, because there's several countries. UK is one of them. I saw this guy actually on TikTok. It's insane. If your animal dies, and he's got sheep.
Yeah.
If an animal dies, he's got to report that death. An inspector has to come out, certify that death. Then he has to pay to have it incinerated. And then he has to keep that ear tag. And at the end of each year, now this is what he said, at the end of each year, he has to report all the ear tag numbers. And then they go out and count and make sure it matches. And
so that's how
he gets fined. And that's like UK. And other countries have mandatory tracking.
That seems more like, I mean, I don't know, like that's the funny part about like taxes, right? Mm-hmm. They get to the end of your year, you're trying to file tax. What kind of inventory do we have?
Yeah, that's right.
Well, you got 600 head. How many times how many turns did we make this year? Stalker guys, like, I mean, it's like we got some bones over here, we got some live ones here. You know what I mean?
There's a dead
like,
pile.
There's a dead pile. Like, to me, I don't, knowing how real estate taxes work, I have no idea how ranching keeps up with their inventory. You know what I mean? It's like I don't have a clue, but I'm not talking about chipping them for that. I'm talking about chipping them just so they have data on, you know, kind of when that cattle change hands, like almost like a serial number, like you owned it.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
They've got that.
And then now I own it, you know, and this is it. It's you know, not an ear tag that can just, you know, get.
They've got that. That's the kind of tag you're talking about is an 840 button tag, and it's a little button. It's a little round deal they put in their ear.
Right.
And they can go in now. Terms of tracking all the hands that animals pass through, because they got to think about it. I mean,
the next guy's gonna want it.
Well, next guy's gonna want it, but then it's also a privacy concern.
Oh, yeah, no,
and
I get it.
It's funny with the whole technology. There's so many benefits that you can have, but where's the line that's going too far, right? And everyone's different. And in our bylaws, when you come on as a customer, we say, even though, so Zoetis technically owns the company. They bought out, it was a startup business about 4 years ago, Zoetis bought it. We have it in our contract that we cannot give clientele information to Zoetis, even though they own us. We can't give your contact information to anybody. We can't give your cattle operation details. Even there's an option to add on people to the account. So if you're my nutritionist and I want to give you a certain limited amount of access, and you say, hey, Emma, can you add this? I'm like, you're going to have to do it yourself. I can walk you through how to do it. But even from an admin standpoint, I can't go in there because it's privacy breach.
Yeah.
And so we really value customer privacy when it comes to their operation. So there's a fine line of what is efficient and helpful versus what's crossing the line and we're getting way too invasive, because then you have a government issue.
That's going to be what everybody's going to worry about. Yeah. I wouldn't worry about it because it's like they don't want they wouldn't know what this information is. They're not smart enough to get. It's like it would take them an army of 100,000 people to dissect this. They don't.
Well, funny you should say that. We were just talking about. So there's a podcast called Texas Ag Today. It's put on by the Farm Bureau. It's really interesting. It's about 23 minutes long every weekday. Highly recommend listening to it. Right now, our concern is that the Democrats are putting more urban people on the agricultural committee than rural individuals and even Texans, and that's a huge concern. I've said sitting
that
open up a can of worms.
No, I've said sitting in this very studio that rural Americans, rural Texans, 2 years ago, Rural Texas Coalition came into my head as a PAC to get rural Texans elected to national government to represent the people that are underserved. And I said it. I think I said it at Cowboy Stadium. I said that we're like the most underserved demographic of human beings on planet Earth, and people got they were like, oh, and I'm like, listen, I said rural Texans. I didn't say a race. I said rural Americans. We're sitting in the big city right now. I could see the air coming in this morning. I was like, that's gross. You know what I mean? But I get here, and it's like everybody here votes, but they don't know where their food comes from.
No.
They don't know how the food's made. They don't understand any of the water issues that the country is going to have, like getting clean drinking water. You know what I mean? You can look at the water running out of the Trinity River here south of Dallas and know that ain't it. You know what I mean? That's not
It's a massive problem we've had for generations, at this disconnect between rural and urban communities, and removing rural influence in the school system. I honestly think as a kindergarten, first grade, second grade, all the way probably through your elementary school years, I personally think should be a requirement to have some sort of agricultural education.
They need it so bad because what happens is you have an entire voting block of millions of people deciding who our senator is going to be for this state, right? That's going to go to Washington and represent us, and they don't represent 90% of the GDP of this state.
Yeah,
the GDP of this state is oil, it's energy, and it's food. That's the GDP of Texas. There's probably a lot of medical and technology, you know, probably in there somewhere, but oil and food is how Texas pays its bills.
Yep.
And they legislate against both industries nonstop over what they see out their back door, which they can see their air, that doesn't affect 90% of the state.
It's really sad.
It's like, I understand you can see your air in Dallas. It's nasty. It's gross. People throw their trash on the ground.
Yeah. But that's the funny part is even from an environmental standpoint, you know, there's been this huge movement of environmental safety, protect the environment. The government doesn't give one jack crap about the environment. They use that as a marketing scheme. The agriculture, of agriculture
gives way more of a shit.
Yeah. Agriculture itself accounts for less than 10% of greenhouse gas emissions, and beef cattle is less than 2%. The number one is transportation. It's like 25, 30-something%.
And so,
or industrial and transportation. They're kind of neck and neck. They're only a few percentages off. And that's from data Monday last week.
But they blame cow farts.
Yeah.
And so and this is I mean, look, we're on the same page. Like it's like I can't stress to people enough that whenever it's like, look, and people will bring up all kind. It's like we were in here and they were talking about different conspiracy theories and stuff. I'm like, I have no idea. My circle of friends don't talk about that stuff. Like my circle of friends don't care about that. What my circle of friends care about is that you know, the agriculture community gets blamed for groundwater contamination, or the oil gets blamed for groundwater contamination when none of y'all even know how groundwater is recharged.
Exactly.
You don't even know. You could not tell me how the aquifer gets recharged if I gave you 5 options.
Yeah.
And so that is part of the issue. If you go to where we live, well, not Lubbock, but if you go, it's dirty. But now I'm playing.
I got to vouch for my fellow Lubbock people now.
It's
just less green, a little more flat.
Yeah, it's
I love Lubbock.
Thank you. Lubbock, it is like God.
I'm from Plainview. So.
Yeah, same Plainview.
Well, you know, it's easy to love Lubbock when you're from Plainview.
That's like how we say about Midland too. We kind of throw trash on Midland too.
But if you go to where we live, if you go to down where I live, you'll see clean air, clean water, clean opportunities to earn a living, safety. You know what I mean? It's like and yet every day the small operator, the small cow-calf operator, gets some legislation passed that's going to ruin their business or livelihood. You know what I mean? That is just completely overlooked, and it's always the unintended consequences to save a bird in an area of the state or whatever. Which
may not be even true.
Which may not even be true.
You have to get licenses. You have to go to classes. You have to get certifications just to spray. Different chemicals you spray. And that's the real funny thing is this whole push for organic. That's organic, and then the non-GMO thing is the best. Now, I will have to say hats off to the marketing team on that standpoint, because they did a phenomenal job convincing the general public that organic is better and that non-GMO milk, or what was it, antibiotic-free milk. I'm like, there's no such thing as antibiotic milk. It's just educate yourself.
But here's the FDA, correct? That says this gets an organic label now.
Yeah,
this gets a non-GMO
different chemical
label.
compounds that you can't have in certain sprays, but the organic fields, you have to think about it for their standpoint. They have to make a crop without certain chemicals in that spray. They now have, it's like a diluted version. Now they have to spray 2 to 3 times as much.
Oh, wow. So it's the exact same thing.
If not worse for you, actually.
And it's got the label, though.
Yeah.
That sells.
It's got that pretty little green label on it.
That sells. You get to put it in a green sack.
Yep.
Do you see how far removed urban people are from their food?
It's sad because you can't even make educated decisions on what you're putting into your body. And right now, people, like, all the health nuts are out there, and it's like, oh, I don't do this because dairy's so bad for you. It's like, dairy's not necessarily bad for you. Now, it all depends on how you're ingesting. Like, all right, so they say chicken's better for you for beef, which is not true, by the way. But if I have a grilled steak versus a deep fried chicken covered in gravy, what's healthier now?
I don't know. I eat both.
I do too.
No, I'm talking about the same sitting. I'm just
I'd
like,
be there with you.
They're like, if fried chicken or steak, I'm just like, yes.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
But I mean, and even the grass-fed versus grain-fed, you know, I forgot the year it came out in.
She's putting that heat out there that TikTok's going to love.
I know.
Grass-fed versus grain-fed. Go ahead, drop it on us.
My boss is going to call me. Yeah. So grain-fed versus grass-fed, what's been the stereotype of what's better?
Well, yeah, they want you to eat grass-fed beef.
Why?
I have no idea. It's just marketing. Okay. The very first place I ever heard of grass-fed beef, you can guess it in one guess if I tell you these 2 facts. It's a burrito place, second location ever, opened in College Station.
Oh, is it that Chipotle?
No, it's not. It's Freebirds.
Freebirds.
Oh, Freebirds. Yeah. See, I'm anti-Chipotle. After they came with that anti-agriculture commercial statement,
I've always been Team Freebirds because I've been hammered on Northgate eating burritos. But grass-fed beef was on their menu in 2000 when I was standing there for the first time, and I'm like, I don't know what that is, but I want some.
Yeah, I mean, it's just.
But keep going. Yeah. The grass-fed beef is supposedly marketed to be better for you.
It's marketed to be better for you.
Versus grain-fed. But
yeah,
what's the difference?
But really, there's a lot of differences between the two. Obviously, the one that has higher marbling, so that fat within the muscle fibers, which causes flavor, tenderness, that you're going to get that from your grain-finished beef.
Okay.
The grass-fed there's not as much intramuscular fat. There's not as much seam fat, so that fat on the outside of the steak, because you're not getting the same nutrients from your feed of grain-fed versus grass.
Okay.
Now.
But what's the government's difference?
Well, government. Well,
so
it's a whole conversation there too.
If I'm having grass-fed beef, does it mean it's never ate grain?
No.
Oh, why?
It has to be the I think it's 90 days. The last 90 days they have to be finished on grass.
Finished on grass, which means
yeah.
How, I mean, we
and
don't
it depends.
know.
There's different levels of programs before the internet comes at me.
Internet come at her.
Oh, goodness. Let me get some more coffee first. Where's that beer? No, there's different programs. So like an all-natural program, grass-finished programs, grass-fed. And there's different programs you can be a part of, and there's different stipulations on each one of those.
Yes, we understand that. But for the average consumer, when they're like when the average consumer is being marketed to,
yeah, they just say grass finished.
Grass finished is better.
Or they just say grass fed. Yeah,
it's like a non-GMO. It's like organic. Yeah. It's got that same aura around it.
Yeah.
But in reality, for the last however many days of that beef's life, it didn't have any grain.
Yeah.
But for however many days leading up to it, it could have had grain. You didn't accomplish anything. Same thing with antibiotic, non-antibiotic. Well, what's non-antibiotic? Does it mean it's never had antibiotics?
Well, there's also the big stigma against corn that goes into it and grains. You know.
Well, then that's funny. But so, what do you mean by stigma?
Like, people think corn's the devil.
Yeah, without corn, people will starve to death.
Yeah.
I mean, and cattle eat less than, I think it's 2%, or I'd have to look. I have it on my phone, so I didn't lie.
And grain in general, like the whole keto carnivore revolution.
They've actually said keto is one of the worst diets you can actually go on.
I lost a lot of weight on keto. I felt great. It was wonderful.
But have you stayed with keto?
Well, I got a girl pregnant, and then
They'll do it to you.
And then COVID hit, and then I was locked inside with a pregnant lady. So we didn't keto.
That sounds like a you problem.
It was a me problem. There was a lot of poor life decisions leading up to that moment, and then it ended in Pop-Tarts and a COVID baby. So That's kind of how it worked out. But
Yeah.
I mean, what you just said, everything you said about grain finished, grass finished, GMO, non-GMO. It's an amazing conversation, but it is a marketing ploy, like you already said.
Most of it is. It's like when they say, well, I want, antibiotic free milk or, milk, but then also beef products. Like there is a USDA inspector on site testing to make sure as soon as that animal is euthanized, they go through every stage. They look at the meat, they look at the carcass, they look at all the intestines that come in. If a carcass is deemed unsafe, the carcass is what we call condemned, and it goes into a locked part of the facility, and some of them burn the carcasses, some of them put them into a giant vat, and then they all burn it at the same time. But it doesn't get used for dog food. It literally goes into a chain locked space, and only the USDA inspector has access to it. And if that carcass is deemed or condemned, is the official name about it, then that carcass never sees the light of day again. And every state, and then even before slaughter, an animal has to be mobile. An animal has to have access to water. Now we fast them before we slaughter them because it just makes the intestines a lot lighter and a lot less likely for contamination.
Okay.
But yeah, once that captive bolt hits that animal's head, that animal is evaluated and scrutinized. It gets sprayed down with sterilization spray. So it's just basically kind of like salt water type of deal. Just to double check, triple check, quadruple check, because food safety is so important. Our U.S. beef is the highest in demand across the world.
Well, and I think you read a stat on your TikTok where you said the U.S. supplies 18% of the world's beef?
18% of the world's beef with, actually, hold on, I have stat.
Was it 2% or?
Well, that number changed because I think it's in my other phone, darn.
6%, 2
with 6%
of the world's cattle?
Yeah, it's an insane.
And to most people, you just said the same thing.
I'm seeing 20, but
20% of the world's beef.
Hold on, I've got this in my work phone. We are gonna
figure this one out.
Well, I took a picture. So, Texas Cattle Feeders Association, which we have legislators and people in Congress and over in DC to advocate for us. So, TSCFA, Texas Cattle Feeders Association, NCBA, National Cattlemen's Beef Association. TCFA just had their convention in Frisco Monday last week. Okay. U.S. farmers and ranchers produce 18% of the world's beef production with only 6% of the world's cattle population.
Now, how did I remember that?
Your mind is a steel trap.
I don't know about that. I just remembered it because what I thought whenever I heard that, I was like, you know what? Most people don't know the difference between beef and cattle.
Well, and 28% of America's cattle population is fed in Oklahoma, Texas, and New Mexico alone.
That's right. Because we out here slanging and banging. And but that's I'm just people vote against good, clean food all the time. And
ignorance.
It's silliness. It's just being so far removed from it. Where I live, it's agriculture, so it's cattle, it's corn, it's cotton, soybeans probably.
It's an ag community.
It's an ag community. It's where most of our GDP comes from. It's we also drill for oil and natural gas, and they do it in a safe and effective manner. And we power the world. And we feed the world from our little area out there, and then people want to gripe at us and make us the enemy of the world. You know what I mean?
And it's funny because we have the most sustainable beef cattle production system. So from 1996 to 2019, I think, is the date range. We have increased beef production per animal by 67%.
That's amazing.
And our number one exports first one is Japan.
Okay.
Second one is Korea.
Okay.
And third is China. And China grew their export market with U.S. beef by 40-something% in last year alone. Last year, the beef cattle industry export-wise was a $10 billion business, or $10.5 billion business.
So
2022 alone, we're at 12.
So what she's saying is, and this is the difference between beef and cattle. Beef is what you buy at the grocery store.
It's your meat.
It's your meat. Cattle are the actual animals that are walking around outside that you see whenever you're driving through the country.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Is the species.
They've increased 67% the beef production.
Beef production per, yeah.
Base, like, so
carcass weight.
So carcass weight. They've gotten that much more efficient, which means you have bigger, healthier, larger animals.
Yeah.
And then, it's cruel and unusual.
Higher yielding. So the yield grade is how much of the animal we can take to the plate, essentially.
Yep. Yeah,
that's in layman's terms. So that has just the overall carcass cutability has grown by 67, which is massive. But
and that's done through
genetics,
selective breeding.
Yep.
You know, a whole bunch of things. Whenever Spoon labeled the Santa Graputus a GMO, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was selective breeding.
I'm going to accidentally say that in a conversation in the future, and I'm going to blame you.
That's going to be good, though. They're going to say it on the internet. They'll get mad at you.
Yeah.
So, anyways, whenever
I refuse to say that because I'm worried it's going to get cut.
Oh, it's going to get cut. But that's the thing. The absolute truth about it is like how efficient, how much more efficient farmers, ranchers have gotten with water, land, all their resources. And
shrinking resources.
That's what I'm saying.
Urbanization is spreading so rapidly that we've got to really be careful because we are feeding the nation's population with less than 2% of that population is rural producers.
That's the other stat. So the 6%.
98% of the nation's population is being fed by less than 2%. It's insane.
And everybody's mad at the 2%.
And I just, let's think, all right, let's talk about sustainability because that's a big conversation that's been going on in the industry the past couple of years. That Beyond Beef deal.
Yeah.
You've seen that picture of COVID that it's at a grocery store and where all the beef products are, not a single package on there, but they're fully stocked with the Beyond Beef. It's because it doesn't taste good.
Hold on, first off.
I've never tried it, but
I've never tried it.
Palatability wise, there's been studies done and it's...
If I accidentally eat it, I'm
going to be mad. I will puke it up. I refuse to ingest it.
If I accidentally eat it and believe it's beef...
It's anti-American.
Yeah, I'll just move out of the country. I'll move to Delaware. No, I'm playing. Look, I'm with you. Mm-hmm. Everything that you're saying, these stats are incredibly eye-opening. But the good thing about TikTok and other places are, at least a lot of people are entertained and get to see cattle production, get to see all that. Like I said, I got a ton of great followers and friends from Spoon's GMO misspeak. We'll call it that. Then that's why you're here. So I mean, it worked out in my favor, I guess. Mm-hmm. But I think that people do need educated on it because it's something
accurate education, and that's the other half of the battle is where you get your information from. It's so hard to find true and accurate information. And that's with anything, not just ag.
True and accurate agriculture information comes from Texas A&M University.
Whoop.
So
I better be careful. People at Tech, I'm never going to get into that school ever if I ever apply.
The other thing that A&M, true and accurate information for real estate comes from Texas A&M.
Really?
Texas, yeah. Huh. Texas real estate, they always cite whatever it is that Texas A&M puts together the data from Texas.
Yeah. The AgriLife system is really good, so I'm assuming it's really similar to like AgriLife, just more of research.
I mean, A&M's just that kind of place.
Just that good.
Yeah, that good. But they're good people. They're great people. I mean, I don't know about. I went to a game last year. Yeah, I have not gone this year. I went to a game last year, and I was completely shocked. I was like, I hadn't been in a while. I hadn't been to College Station, Northgate. Hadn't been to the area in a while, and I got there and I realized that women quit wearing clothes. Like,
Oof,
I was like, there's like more side boob with granddads, like not sugar daddies, actual grandfathers.
Grandparents, yeah.
I was like, this has gotten a lot different than when I was here. There was a lot more overalls when I was here on game day than
it's a social thing. I think it's sad, you know. And right now, so the big guy that everyone's been talking about is Andrew Tate. And the thing about him, I love him. And there's certain things that he says I may not always agree with, but he calls it in a very blunt format that not a lot of people, because you got to protect your feelings and everything. Yeah. But this whole girl boss, and I work for myself, right? Yeah. I've got my own side businesses. I also work for a company, and I'm very self-sufficient because I am not married. Once I become married, then that's a whole different conversation where my job is now to support my partner, my husband. But they're growing these, not only just men, but women too. They're teaching in the education system that, oh, you don't need anybody, you do your own thing. Well, I feel like they're just teaching these kids not to be entrepreneurs, but to be slaves to big corporations. And the other thing is, from a religious standpoint, do what you want, sleep with whoever you want, go you, girl power, XYZ, and it's not attractive. Sleeping around, showing off your entire body to the public is, in my personal, you know, if you're proud of your body, great. Like I wear a sports bra and compression shorts, but I do CrossFit, and I just started training for marathons recently.
Hold on, you know the first rule of doing CrossFit, right?
What?
Telling everybody you do CrossFit.
That is true.
So
that is true.
Keep going.
I am now I'm just cult driven. I went from A&M to CrossFit, so I just have a tendency.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
watch out, Waco.
Yeah. This is true. This is true. Great area. If you've never been to the Branch Davidian compound, you should go. It's a good time. You really should go to the Mecca of right. Cults. But anyways, keep going.
No, but it's just it's sad that you're not really teaching the core values anymore. I mean, look at the general public itself. This whole everyone's offended, and you have to be sensitive to everybody and inclusive.
I'm very sensitive to everybody.
We are too close to Sunday to be lying.
we're yes, but keep going.
They just don't. People aren't raised like they're used to be, and it's. I honestly feel a lot of the social issues has to stem from that. I mean, my producers, when they first meet me, why aren't you married yet? I'm like, well, honestly, because there's a lot of boys out there, but there's not a lot of men.
This is true.
And it can be flipped. Being on the opposite side, there's a lot of girls out there. There's a lot of whores. There's a lot of just selective individuals.
I was like,
there's not a lot of women out there that you would want as a wife.
Well, I don't look when I've never been married. Okay, so I'm probably in the boy category. Got two babies.
I don't think it categorizes it that way.
No, it does. But I have two baby mamas, so I'm almost a really good. I almost got a really good stat line there. You know what I mean? It's like
you're consistent.
No, I mean I'm just like girlfriends are temporary. Baby mamas are forever. So it's like you can't. Anyways, but I agree with that 100% because I looked at the way that I live my life, and I look at my life experiences and everything that shapes you and everything else. When you're out there in the dating world, and you're looking for somebody with similar values and looking in that area, it's real life, like being there in real life, like being at Texas Kyle Field with half-dressed women with their families.
And that's deemed a conservative school compared to most other.
I was like, I'm officially old because I have no idea. I have no idea if this girl is 16 or 25. I can't tell. The only thing I do know is she's with her dad or granddad or whoever it is, and they did not correct that behavior before they walked out the door that day. And one day I'm going to be down here with my own daughter. You know what I mean? She's 8. And it's like she's going to see that. She might look up to it or she might not, but I'll have to explain it to her and I won't know how. And so I don't want to come down here with her on a game day, which is sad because, you know, it used to be a fun family atmosphere. Now, going back 10 years, whenever I was down there and I was the person that people were looking at going, this used to be a fun family atmosphere. Now we got guys in coveralls throwing kegs around like Neanderthals.
World is changing. And, you know, we used to take pride in taking care of our bodies and this whole body positivity or don't fat shame type thing. You know, that's where a lot of our health issues come from too, is if you didn't weigh 300 pounds, and I get it, there's different genetic issues out there that happen.
Don't back off of that. Don't back off of that.
But it's, you've got to at least take care of your body, and your body is your temple. It's God gave you that body for you to take care of. And if you're constantly eating, or you're in the Wendy's, you're in the Chick-fil-A drive-through, the ice cream, if that's your diet, you know, I don't really have a whole lot of sympathy for you when you say, oh, well, I can't because I'm diabetic, or I can't climb, you know, 5 stairs without heaving. And your body's not designed to have that kind of weight on it.
I understand, Emma. I'm sorry. I ate so much Rocky Road this weekend. I had the flu. Biggins had the flu, and we got into the Rocky Road a little bit. We stayed in there.
I am not, you know, I exercise. I try to exercise regularly, and that's through different forms, whether it's day working, riding horses, CrossFit, marathons. But I am not a dietitian. I do not sit there and count micros and macros. I don't sit there and limit myself only to vegetables. I listen to my body. If my body says, hey, you need protein, then we cook a steak or pork.
I don't know how to listen to my body. So what I did, I got down to 195 pounds. I'm probably walking around 230 right now. So 35 pounds lighter than I am now.
Good for you.
Emery started school, so she was 5. She's 8 now, so 3 years ago. And I felt the best that I'd felt in a long time, and it was a lifestyle change.
Your mood's better.
Your
Your
energy
mind
was
is
better.
clearer.
I was having such a good time.
Yeah.
And but I was 35 then. I'm 38 now. There's something in your body at different points in times, and I have no idea what it is, that you got to work harder and harder and harder to get the exact same results. And are you measuring it from? No, I'm not doing anything about it. I'm eating Rocky Road on the weekends and not complaining about it. But I do watch these podcasts and I see my fatness and I'm like, you know what I need to do today? I need to work out. I need to go be healthy.
Walk to the mailbox.
I need to do something about it. But I haven't made that decision yet. But I'm also not complaining about it.
But there's also the flip side too, where and this has been ever since I was a kid too, was the ideal beauty is to be thin, lean. I'm just athletically built. That's just the way my genetics are. That's the way my genes are. I'm tall and
How tall?
I'm 5'9".
Yeah, that's impressive.
I'm the shortest person in my immediate family.
That's good though.
And so
NFL kids.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Coming up.
We gotta check off all his boxes on a mate. But no, that's the thing that all these magazines and the modeling industry, back when I was involved with that when I was younger.
I never got to be a model.
It's really fun. It was really fun. I think I capped out where I appropriately, because they basically said you don't go to college and you go do this and travel. And I was like, you know what? I don't know if I can get back into this school now that I'm in it. So we're just going to go ahead and stay. But the thin, and then so of course you've got the flip side of the whole thing, from the praising obesity to starving yourself and being anemic and having eating disorders. There's two sides of the spectrum, and everybody's different. Every composition of your body compared to another person is different. And so what might be healthy for one person physically and appearance-wise is not always going to match another person.
Well, but there's certain things. Like if I ate worse, I'd weigh like 600 pounds. But I don't eat bad.
Yeah.
I eat meat, vegetables. I don't dip into the Rocky Road, except for I had the flu. I'm okay with that.
I get it.
me and my son, he's 2. He had the flu too. We had to. I mean, we had to
make
do
yourself feel
something.
better somehow.
Yeah, but anyways,
Dayquil can't fix everything.
I was on the Dayquil. I struggled.
Every
struggled
drug
this
known to
weekend.
man, yeah.
But what happened for us, at least in my experience, when I look out there at the world and I see somebody that's aloof or whatever to how they appear, I either have mad respect for them or I start judging them, their work ethic. You know what I mean? But then I remember, like, you know what I mean? I'm like, well, wait, your appearance doesn't reflect your work ethic because you work hard in a lot of other areas.
Yeah.
But you do have to have the total package, and the standard has to be there because, they've told me for years if I dress better, that I would get better opportunities. And for a long time, I didn't necessarily believe that. I believed that the talent would carry it. Now I'm at a threshold where it's like, you do need to build. I do need to be able to talk to somebody that's got a couple of $1 million, and they're not going to take me serious in sweat shorts and a t-shirt. You know what I mean? I'm going to have to dress the part. You know what I mean? I'm going to have to dress like a job interview. But I'm still not okay with it. Just like I'm not okay with not being able to eat up Rocky Road every day and not look like a bum.
Yeah. Well, I think talking about, even from a business standpoint, I'm a firm believer that you have to get mentally fit, emotionally fit, physically fit, financially fit, and honestly, most important of all, spiritually fit.
Spiritually probably being first.
I think that's first and foremost is so when I worked in Virginia, I was in the Blue Ridge Mountains of Virginia doing nutrition consultant work.
Okay.
And I was not in the best environment in terms of support. And so I was at rock bottom emotionally. Business-wise, I was top of the company. Like, it was great.
Yeah.
Everything was going good. But I realized that I was not happy. I was unfulfilled, and even though I had all these stats and numbers, that I just was miserable in life. And so when I moved and got this job in covering New Mexico, Oklahoma, and West Texas, I knew that the first thing I needed to do was get all those things back on track. And I started off at the gym first, creating discipline. Do I want to get up at 4:30 in the morning every morning? Absolutely not. But you tell yourself just one more day, just one more rep, just one more.
Well, that discipline right there to be up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, not a lot of people do that.
Yeah, I'm up every day at 5. I wake up between 3 and 7 every morning. But I don't have an alarm clock.
Yeah.
Okay, so if I have my daughter at home because I got to get her up and go to school, I'm going to be up at 5 because I'm going to beat her up by at least 2 hours.
Breakfast and all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and I can wake her up slowly, so she'll be in a better mood. She'll get a better start to her day. So we can either get her something on the way. She likes to stop at the donut shop. You know what I mean? She gets kolaches. So
heck yeah.
She has her little routine. She knows how to push the buttons and talk me into things. But either way, but that one accomplishment of waking up early in the morning, you've already beat the sun up. So you beat the sun. You had one victory.
Yep.
You get what I mean? If you start off with that one victory, then you can work on the next one.
It becomes a habit.
And
it comes to a habit.
Yes, and working out for a lot of people is the second victory. You know what I mean? So you beat the sun up. Victory number 1. Victory number 2 is I can accomplish my workout. If I can get one thing done, okay, so now I got 2 victories and an accomplishment. Can I get 3 done? I'd break down my list every day of like, what can I do today to make money, right? And I'm not talking about make money like in of like, I can sing a song, or whatever. Like, I'm talking about what do I have on my list that will get me paid the fastest. So for you, I don't know, you're in sales, but I've had thousands of hours of sales training in the last 5 years. But you're in sales and you got a sale that you could almost make. You got that one follow-up. You got to touch that person one more time to get them across the finish line. So, I would start my day with that.
Yeah.
You get what I mean? For me, it's always a real estate project or something along those lines. Jess just got here, I guess.
I guess so.
But I do got to tell this one thing. I got to tell my Lubbock story.
Okay,
so
please do.
I can't tell you
I'm
what.
interested.
We managed 175. We own a property management company.
Okay.
And we managed 175 doors in Lubbock, Texas.
Oh, wow.
Lubbock has the highest homeless population per capita in the state. I would bet it. I would bet it.
I can believe that.
So do you know where Lubbock High School is? You know where Avenue
That's
Q
where my dad
is?
went to. That's where my dad went to school at. Was Lubbock High.
Okay.
Yeah. It's different than when he was a kid. Let's put it that way.
That whole little area is a lot different.
Yeah.
So, you know Avenue Q?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So
That
that's
place
Highway
is
80.
pretty sketchy.
That's
yeah.
Highway 84.
Yep.
Okay. As you trend down there towards that Walmart across the way.
Yes. Was there the other day. There's a catfish place right next to it.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. Right across the way is the Hilton Doubletree.
Yes.
New nice hotel. So that's where I would stay. So we're managing 175 doors. I'd go up there. We had a problem with squatters, so we would put a for rent sign out on a property, and the homeless people would break in immediately and start squatting.
Oh yeah.
Normally, in a real estate situation, you'd have to evict them. Like, so if that happened in Dallas, you'd have to go through the eviction process. It's a big, messy process. But in Lubbock, the police are so tired of it that they will show up and criminally trespass them. Well, I didn't know that at this juncture, but we kept having them. So they go in and they would actually buy locks, change the locks on the unit, and then they would just be in there doing heroin or whatever drugs they're doing in there. And so it'd be like Dirty Mike and the boys having a soup kitchen in there. And we would still be trying to rent it, so prospective tenants would be going by and they couldn't get in, and it just kept happening and kept happening. So I'm like, I'm going to drive up there. I'm going to go to this property in the middle of the night because they're never there when we get there. Just the remnants of their nonsense is there. And so I'm going to go there. I'm going to show up in the middle of the night. I'm going to call the police. We're going to get this thing handled. Well, got there in the middle of the night, didn't have the courage to do it. Now, Texas had just passed constitutional carry. So I show up the next morning, all right, and it's the first time in the history of anything that I had a gun on me. And so I'm wearing a sweatshirt, an A&M hoodie, as a matter of fact. And I've got my gun that has a flashlight on it in the front of my deal there. And it's a duplex, which means somebody lives in the front and it's got a property in the back, and the door is on the side of the house. And then you have to walk through the backyard to get to the back door, which is on the other side of the house. But there's a fence. So, like, you're in a real bad spot there if you're coming up to that door. And anyways, whenever I walked around, we couldn't get in that front door. So I come around to the back door, and I had a girl with me that did our maintenance. So she's there behind me. And I walk up, and the screen door was closed, but the door behind it was open. So I was like, okay. Cool. Yeah, like, we're going to be able to change the locks on this front door or whatever. And so I open the screen door swings open, and there's a guy standing there. And so it's kind of dark. It's morning time, but it's kind of dark, and it's definitely dark in there. So I pull a gun with the flashlight on it and hit this dude with the flashlight. And he could have ran the other way and went through the door that's on the other side, but he didn't. He hit the ground, and this is the one thing I learned. I didn't pull the gun with the intention of shooting somebody. I pulled the gun with the intention of putting the flashlight on him, knowing that, whatever this was, that he hopefully wouldn't try anything, and then also, you know what I mean, it would like put the situation at ease, which is weird because you enter a gun into a situation, nothing's at ease. And so what this dude did was he crawled to me. And so I'm telling him, stop, don't move, please, just stay over there. But I'm standing in a doorway, and so I'm standing in this doorway. So he could just turn around and go the other way and go out the other door, but he doesn't. He keeps crawling to me. He gets to me. He's crawling up my pants. And so I've got a gun and no intention of using it, right? Like, you know what I mean? It may as well not have bullets.
Right.
But this guy is now crawling, and I'm like, so had this been a meth head, I'd have been in a real bad situation, but he was strung out on heroin. So anyways, he was wearing a backpack, and, just like instinctively, I was like, she's on the phone with 911. I mean, it's probably been 2 minutes of yelling back and forth at this guy, and him yelling at me and me yelling at him. Well, anyways, I ended up grabbing him by his backpack and slung him out the door because he was crawling up me. So I'm holding this gun up higher and higher. And so I sling him, and he hits the fence, and the fence falls over. So the neighbor, he hit the fence so hard, the fence fell over. Well, he gets up, and he's stumbling to me, and I'm like, what the hell, guy? So I hit him, And when I hit him, he falls down on the fence. Well, the neighbors heard all this commotion, so they come running outside. And when they come around the corner, all they see
you with a gun.
They see this guy laid out, me with a gun. You know what I mean?
Some girl on the phone, yeah.
She's on the phone with 911. They have no idea what's going on. So the neighbor picks up a brick and starts chasing me, starts coming at me. So I've got this gun, and I'm like, what the hell? So I take off running. She takes off running. We run out the front. And anyways, the guy, we get across the street, and I turn around. The dude with the brick still chasing me, by the way. And so I turn as I'm running across the road at like 7:30 in the morning. I'm like, "You're in Lubbock. You got a gun. You're running. Somebody's gonna shoot you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they're just gonna be like, oh, that guy's up to no good, pal.
Yeah.
Put your gun up. So I put the gun up, and I turn around, and the guy goes back over to the fence. He had, in his defense, he has no idea what's going on.
No, yeah.
He don't know if I'm robbing this guy. He don't know what's up. So police show up, and they're like, why didn't you shoot him? And I was like,
that's probably the most Texas response you could have gotten.
And I was like, well, a lot of reasons, a lot of things. I didn't want to take a human life.
Didn't really feel like I needed to.
Yeah, I really and truly, it was a bad pull on my part. You know what I mean? Everything about this, and I don't have all day to stand here and explain to y'all what happened and maybe go to jail. I just don't have that in me right now. But yeah, so that was
quite the story.
That was my Lubbock experience, and that happened. We had squatters move into every single property we put up for rent. So we managed 175 doors there. Eventually got to where we just couldn't. We tapped out and said. So I feel like I spent every weekend or several times a week going back and forth to Lubbock. I've made that drive.
It's a long drive.
I've made that drive probably 30 times.
Once you get past Sweetwater, it turns into like, all right, I'm ready to get there.
I enjoy the drive. Really, the worst part, I like going through Snyder. I like how the scenery looks between Snyder and Post. It's just a beautiful little area. Post smells like shit, but it
does. But
that's just H2S.
Yeah.
And then after Post, it's depressing.
See, once you get towards like past, you keep going like towards Guthrie and Perryton. That Perryton, once you get past there towards the state line, it actually turns really, really pretty. And then between Lubbock and Guthrie,
I've been all up in there. I went to the
beautiful.
Buffalo, the place,
Buffalo Springs?
Cap Rocks.
Oh, Cap Rock, yeah.
Went to Cap Rocks, kicked it with the Buffalo.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We used to go to Canyon all the time. Go to the Canyon. I take my daughter with me when I'd go up there all the time.
It is pretty.
Showing her those parts. I mean, I used to drive 7,000 miles a month. I don't drive anymore, but yeah, we got to go.
Okay.
So this has been Emma. What's your last name, Emma?
Coffman.
That's right. Emma Coffman. Yeah. She's sells for performance beef, correct? So if you're by chance a cattle person, cattle man, cattle woman, cattle human, hit her up. She can help you streamline your business. We've talked about a little bit of everything. Yeah. It's been real fun. Looking forward to knowing you and seeing you around.
Thanks for having me.
You want to plug your socials?
Oh, yeah. My business one. Okay, that one. Yes. TikTok, it's double, like all spelled out double. And then there's another E, ranch. And then photography company, I've got one's double E ranch imaging. And then performance beef, it's just performance beef on, I think, everything. So.
You want to throw your phone number on there in case somebody?
Yeah.
No,
seriously. My business phone number is 806-500-1162. Email is Emma Coffman, COFFMAN @cattlecrush, KRUSH.com.